Hi guys, thanks for tuning back into the Scan Tool Network. So in this video we have a Mercedes Benz with an airbag light. If you look right here, there's an airbag light, and we're also getting the front right malfunction console workshop with the airbag warning in the message center in the center there. So the reason we're making this video is just basically because we see a lot of like comments on Facebook and forums when somebody would say, you know, I've got a problem with my vehicle, my Mercedes, the airbag light is on. Does anybody have any good ideas as to what it might be? And as helpful as the other commenters are trying to be, they can only really draw from their own experiences. They can say, oh yes, it's going to be something to do with the seat belt, or it'll be the clock spring, which I'll come to in a second. But without them actually getting in and having a look at your vehicle, it's really impossible for them to say. So the chances are it could be a combination of faults, or it could be one single problem, which is why the airbag light is illuminated on your Mercedes Benz. So I'm going to run through a few of the basic things that it could be, but ultimately I think what you're probably going to need to do is you're going to need to invest in one of these tools, because you could end up spending money or changing parts that aren't actually necessary or aren't actually needed. And in any case, once you have actually fixed the problem, the airbag light won't turn off on its own. You do need a scan tool to actually reset the airbag light. Okay, so getting one of these is the first step in my opinion, because that's going to put you in the right direction. It's going to stop you from replacing parts that don't need to be replaced, and also once the problem is fixed, it's going to allow you to reset that airbag light, which I'll demonstrate in a moment. So the few different things that it could be in a few different areas, you know, you could have something like a faulty or damaged sensor. Now in the vehicle, there are kind of sensors dotted around. Could be in the seats, could be in the door cards, could be in the curtains, the pillars. You will have sensors which could just be damaged because of they could have moisture in them, or they could just be corroded, or they could have been maybe hit with something and it's not working properly. As well as that, the wiring, it could be a loose connection. The wiring into those sensors could be faulty. Maybe if you've had like a rodent or something, or maybe again just because of pure corrosion, the fact that it's maybe exposed to the elements, the weather might have just got to it. There's things like the clock spring, which is inside the steering wheel as well. There is the seat belt warning. So there's a little wire which comes out of the actual seat belt where you plug it in, and that connects up to the ECU. And sometimes if the seatbelt is used a lot, like in a vehicle like this, it's got 185,000 miles, sometimes that wiring can just work its way loose and eventually rub against something and eventually just cut, or could be cut by accident, so without even realizing. So there's that. There is of course the fact that the vehicle might have been in an actual collision without you knowing about it, but maybe say like it's had a front bumper, front bonnet or hood repaired, but the airbag light hasn't been turned off because they may not have had access to a scan tool like this. Okay, so there are many different reasons, or could be a wet or corroded airbag module as well, the ECU for the airbag system. So it has like a little computer, a little brain which controls the airbag system. And sometimes they can get corroded, then get wet, moisture can set in, and they can just die. So if that is broken, then it's not going to be able to receive all of the signals from all of the sensors, clock spring, and all of the other components of the airbag system. So that is mainly the real reasons why an airbag light would show. But of course, that doesn't necessarily help you in that, well, which one of those is it? And that's why the scan tool comes in really handy. So what I'm going to do is I've got this hooked up to the diagnostic port, and I'm just going to go through the process of actually giving you an example of what it could be. So we're going to go to control unit, we're going to find the airbag system in the scan tool so that the tool can connect with the airbag system. What it's doing is it's connecting with the ECU of the vehicle, and the ECU is where the faults are stored. So we're going to go into this. It takes a second or two to connect, and then we'll be given the option to read fault codes. So read fault code, and here we are. So it's giving us 3 faults. it's giving us a unique fault code and a description of the fault. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. Now, even if you don't necessarily know what these mean, and the chances are you probably might still be a little bit confused, I would say put these into a Google search engine, and the chances are if you're having this problem, and guarantee somebody else will also have had this problem at some point, the answer will be online. But for this one, we've got the squib for the side bag driver has a malfunction, the belt buckle driver has a malfunction, and the neck restraint driver. So it's all relating to a driver, so it's telling us 3 different parts of the driver airbag have a fault. Now, it would seem strange that all of a sudden all 3 of those would fail. So the most logical thing is to, well, what do all these 3 things feed into? And it's the connector which connects these 3 things to the airbag ECU. So indeed, we looked at the connector. There was a loose connection there and popped it back in, but that's just an example of how once we've popped the connection back in, or we think we've fixed the fault, the airbag light is still showing. So it doesn't necessarily just turn it off because it's fixed. You need the scan tool to then say, okay, Mr. Airbag ECU, we think we've fixed the problem. I'm going to try and reset these codes, and if you're happy that the problem has been fixed, please turn off the airbag light. So we go clear fault memory, and once we click OK, if the ECU is happy, that airbag light will turn off. And there we go, the airbag light has turned off, and we've got a raise operation done on screen here. So that's the MB version 1.0 tool. Like I say, I'll pop the link to this kit in the description below this video. There are fakes, there are clones, they can damage your vehicle. It's not worth going down that route, but this is a genuine and official product, and the link will take you to the genuine and official product on the website. But I hope that's helped. I hope that's given you maybe a little bit of an understanding as to why the airbag light may have come on. And hopefully giving you a few pointers, hints and tips on what to do to then diagnose and ultimately get that warning light reset. It's not always going to be as easy as just putting a connector back in. I get that. Sometimes you might need to replace a sensor, replace a part like a clock spring or something, but again, if you are getting that issue, then I can guarantee you there's a guide online for it, and it should make your job a whole lot easier. Okay, thanks for watching, guys, and I hope this helps.